Yo, what's up guys? It's me, the Great Wit here, back again with a brand new video. And I want to say sorry for not making, different kinds of what ifs. I'm mostly focused on this one, but if you guys want to see a different kind of what if, please comment down below and I'll see what I can do. Now, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let's get right into the video. So, we cut back to Izuku. He's cuddling up with Enoch, slowly drifting away to sleep. And in his dream, he envisions everything what he thinks the world is going to be. This utopia and everything how he wants in the whole world to be, peace and love, hope, just everywhere. Everyone just getting along. And him being the ruler. And this is just exciting for Izuku. Even though it's just a dream, he feels calm and just in ease with this. And like he's holding the whole world in his hand. And it felt like nothing is gonna stop him. But then the world slowly consumes in darkness. Izuku is being sucked into this dark hole of an abyss and just falls into this deep, deep water. He feels himself drowning. He's trying to reach for air, just swimming up, but he can't, and slowly drifts away. Now, Izuku, he slowly gets up and realizes he's surrounded by darkness. And this doesn't feel like a dream no more. More like a connection with someone else. Someone who wants to talk to him. So, Izuku, he looks around but sees just nothing but darkness. But he sees a shrivel of a tiny light hanging on. So Izuku, he slowly walks to that little bright light. And then what he sees shocked him to the core. He sees the boy that he once gave the necklace to. In case if he needs help, just answer this prayer. Izuku just sees the kid, but he's just scratched up, cuts all over his body, and just holes in him like he was being experimented on. And a bunch of whip slashes on his back, his forehead just cut, blood streaming down his eyes, and just one eye gone, but that eye is being covered up by his hair that's barely even hanging onto his head anymore. Izuku, he's terrified and just thinks to himself, who would do this? I need to help him. I need to. And just tries to reach for the kid. But then the kid just says, "Help me, please." And Izuku is stopped by this dark entity. And Izuku doesn't know what's going on. But the entity is showing himself to Izuku. It slowly is coming right behind the boy and touches the boy right in the back of the head, disintegrating him to nothing but ash and blood. And all that falls is the necklace that Izuku gave the boy to. And you just hear this clink. Izuku just yells, "No!" But you just hear this feminine voice saying, I always hated children. They're nothing but nuisance. I mean, you never thought about that, brother. But I do. How long has it been since we last talked? probably at least a couple of years. Now, don't be forgetting about me all of a sudden just because I got out of the picture. Izuku. And Izuku could feel the bloodlust coming out of her. And he remembers this voice very vividly. And is recalling all the times that he had heard that voice. And says one word. Izume? And you just hear this giggle. And if you're wondering, who is this Izume? Well, it's the twin sister of Izuku. Yes, Izuku wasn't, the only one being born. There was actually two. Now, we're gonna start this flashback. And it's them being born. Inko is just pushing, and just feels this horrible pain. You just hear this angel saying, "Come on, Inko, just one more push." And you just hear this beautiful cry. And Izuku is the first ever born. Inko, she's happy and asks if she could see the child. So the angel wraps Izuku in this cloth that's pure white of silk and just wraps it around Izuku and gives it to Inko. She looks at Izuku and says, "Your name will be Izuku Midoriya." It's beautiful, right, Zane? And Zane, he just looks at Izuku and says, He's just like you. And the angel says, "No, we have another one." And Inko could feel this horrible pain. And she just yells out a horrible cry. Zane, he quickly puts his hand on just Inko's mouth and says, "Bite down. It'll be all over soon. Aren't you happy? You're gonna have another one." And Inko, she's crying. And Zane knows that this isn't the normal kind of birth of crying. It's more like a demonic kind of cry. And Zane just looks and sees Izume. Sees this small child with dark hair and little slits of green coming out. And the angel, he could barely hold her. He could just feel this excruciating pain coming out of her. And he almost lets go of the baby, but God just runs up and grabs the child. But instead of wrapping the child with white cloth, he wraps it in a kind of dark cloth. Instead of silk, it's more like a wool kind of sensation. And wraps it around Izume. And God just looks at her and notices the red eyes. And God just says, "So, you both hold this power. I'm impressed." And just looks at Inko and says, "Look, dear, you have another one. What are you gonna call her?" And Inko just grabs Izume, holding her and just all out happy. But then later, you're slowly losing Inko. Inko's slowly dying. And God doesn't know why. It's the afterlife. No one dies in the afterlife. And they don't know where they go in the afterlife. And Inko's losing her strength. And slowly both of the childs try falling. The angel caught Izuku while God caught Izume. God just says, "Inko, are you alright?" It's just shaking her. Inko's not responsive. Then later, her body slowly just disintegrates into nothing. And with her final look, she looks at Zane and says, "I'm happy. So happy. Thank you, dear." And just, that was her last words. God, he starts to cry. And he just looks down at Izume. And Izume, she's just, just crying. And Izuku is crying as well. And the angel gives Izuku to God. So God is holding both of his children. And he says, Izuku is a symbol of hope, while Izume here is a symbol of despair. I never thought both of you will ever come up. I thought only one of you will have this power. But looks like it's split to two. I don't know what to do. I never, acted like a father before. Hell, I don't even know how to raise my children well. And you just see Michael coming down and says, "Father, how did it go? Wait, where's Inko?" And then slowly, all the angels come around and surround just God, and everyone's just looking at the kids and sees that one of them are different from the other. And Uriel just says, "So, their powers are split." And God just says, "Afraid so. There's nothing I can do to change." And God just looks at Raphael and says, "You will train my son, while Uriel, you will train my daughter." At the age of 10, their training starts. And also, I can't believe I'm saying this, I want you to bring Lucifer as well. And Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, Raphael, Seraphine, and Ragiel, they all just yell, "What? Why are we bringing that fucking traitor? He's nothing but just pitiful, just arrogant. Why are we bringing him?" And God just says, because he is also their uncle, and maybe even their brother. Well, stepbrother to be exact. And Michael just says, "With all due respect, sir, I do not want to bring that traitor here. You know what will happen, right?" And God just says, "Enough. I am not discussing this further. Everyone is going to see them. And I mean everyone. Even the demons themselves will watch. Even though those who have wronged me will watch. The watchers, the demons, the fallen angels. Everyone will witness their greatness. There will be no discussion. Just do it." So Michael and everyone else bows and says, "All hail the great king and queen." Or, to be exact, all hail the prince and princess. Now, everyone goes and separates. Michael, he went down to the deepest of hells to inform everyone that the new king will rise, and the queen will rise as well. Uriel, he went down to where Azazel is being held. And Azazel is wondering why the hell would one of the great angels, the archangel, would come and visit him. And Uriel just says, "Behold, for my father have conceived 2 children. One will rule everyone, and everyone will see his greatness, while the other one will see the despair and punishment to those who have wronged her." And Azazel says, "I can't wait to meet them." And Uriel just says, "Silence, you damn traitor. You'll see them only once, and you'll see their shining light. Now, off with your chains." And he starts to release Azazel. He started to release to every single fallen angel, every single demon that was once so powerful that they locked them away. Satan, Beelzebub, every single evil person that you can ever imagine were there. They were all released from their chains. And they saw light once more. And God just told Gabriel to sound the horns, for there will be a feast tonight to honor these both. So Gabriel, he did it. So he blowed the golden trumpet to announce the new prince and princess of heaven and the future rulers of what they see today. And everyone in heaven, there's just joy everywhere. There's music playing, there's just angels singing, they're dancing, everyone's having a good time. But God, he felt nothing but sadness. He's happy that their children was conceived, and happy that he could actually live on a little bit longer to have memories of Inko. But he was not prepared for losing her as well, since he doesn't know what lies beyond death itself. So Izuku and Izume lived happily in heaven. And by the age of 5, they played around in the Garden of Eden, eating fruit that hanged heavily on top of the trees. They would mostly climb up there, and Izuku, he was mostly the wimpy kid, crying all the time. Once he fell down a tree and just hurt himself, he would cry. But Izume, she was there through and through. He protected Izuku. She cared for Izuku a lot, and just acted like the big sister, even though she was born last. And Izuku, he was always getting teased by the other angels, just playing around. But once Izume was there, everyone just stopped. Instead of teasing Izuku, they started to insult Izume, which caused her to have more hate to those angels. And one time even tried to kill them. But Michael stopped her. And they continue on playing, hide and seek, tag, and all that in heaven. They started to run around the Garden of Eden, and they were playing this game called hide and seek. Izuku, he counted on his tree, and Izume was going to hide. So Izume, she ran as far as she can, but she ran a little bit too far. And while hiding in this bush, she came across a snake. And it's a small baby snake. And Izume, she never seen this animal before. She's only seen lions, leopards, cats, mouse. but never the snake. So she was just intrigued by this. And the snake slowly formed into a humanoid appearance, right around her age. And it had horns, small wings, a tail, and barely any clothing covering her. It was like around the age of Izumi as well. And this girl just says, "Hello, are you a princess?" And Izumi says, "Yeah, I am the daughter of God, or father to be exact." And this girl hissed at her, saying that you vile angel. And Izumi was wondering, what is she talking about? And, well, Izuku was saying, "Ready or not, here I come." Izumi, he just says, "Shh, don't let him see us." And this girl just says, "What makes you think I'll believe you, huh? What makes you think I will even follow you?" And Izumi, she's just confused and says, "What do you mean, follow me?" And she just asks, "What's your name?" And this girl just says, "Well, I don't really have a name. We demons don't really have names." And Izumi says, "Demon? What are you doing here? How'd you get past Michael? He was supposed to protect the gates." And she just says, "Well, my name is 2. And Izumi says, "Wait, 2? You mean the number?" And she just says, "Yeah, my name's 2. Well, yeah, that's not really much of a name, isn't it?" And Izumi just says, "No, that's not a name at all." Alright, then, Izumi just looked down and up at number 2 and just says, "Well, I'm gonna call you by a different name. I'm gonna call you Ruby, because your skin is as light and shiny as a ruby." And this demon just yells in excitement, which Izuku heard, and says, "I know you're around here." And Izumi quickly puts her hand on the demon's mouth and says, "Ruby, calm down. It's just really a name." And yeah, this demon is now called Ruby. Now, we cut back to when they're 15. Yes, Ruby and Izumi were really close now. And they mostly talk about secrets. And by the time when they're 15, Ruby already knows that she was the princess of God and how God holds secrets. So Izumi, for the years, she tried to suck all the secrets out of Izumi without her even noticing. Like questioning how angels are born, or how they, train, and how they do this and how they do that. Basically trying to get knowledge from Izumi and try to use her. Well, Izumi, she doesn't notice this. She thinks that, it's just, a couple questions, not that big. And Izumi, she just gave all this information to her and told how angels are born and how they were born. And at this point, Izuku noticed that Izumi was gone frequently now. They haven't hanged out a lot this time, and it was almost time for the coronation. The people who will choose who is fit to rule Earth. So Izuku, he's wearing this, white trench coat and a little crown on his head, and was wondering, where is Izumi? So he tried to look for her and just flying around heaven. Now, by this time, when he was 15, he had at least 60 wings. Yes, 60 huge wings just sprout around his back, circling around him, and then just a full-on acre long of a wing. And just flies around heaven, trying to look for Izumi, but then feels this evil presence in the Garden of Eden. So he goes down and just walks around the Garden of Eden, trying to see if he could find a source of evil. And he's just looking around and sees that Izumi is talking to a girl. But this girl is different. She has horns and just rough nails and just disgusting, but also very appealing to look at. And Izuku, he was on top of this tree and just looking and just hearing what they're saying. And he can hear to this conversation. Ruby is just asking more questions on who is, in the royal blood. Who has, who is the most powerful among them. And Izumi just says, well, I'm not really sure. And Ruby just says, well, you haven't really told me much about your power and how other angels have different kinds of power. I'd like to know more about that. And Izumi just says, you want to know a lot about us, don't you? And Ruby, sweat drips a little. And says, yeah, I'm just really interested in your kind. And Izumi just says, well, I'm not really angel kind of like. I know my brother is, but we're half human. And Ruby's just, without knowing that Izumi was human, is full of lust. Yes. Well, Izumi just, turns her head for at least a second and goes through her pockets. She wanted to give a gift to Ruby for being a good friend. But while she had her back turned, Ruby, she had her hand like a blade and was about to attack Izumi right at her back. But then Izuku saw this. He rushes in and just cuts the demon in half with his wing. And while Izumi was going, looking back, he could just see his brother killing her own friend. And Izuku just turns and says, "Are you alright, sister? This demon was here." And you can just see the horror on Izumi's face. And you can just feel the sadness coming out of her. And all you hear is, "Why did you do that? Ruby!" And just pushes Izuku and just goes straight to Ruby. Ruby, she's barely hanging on to life. And just looks at Izumi and says, "Your brother, he's horrible. You shouldn't trust him anymore." And Ruby dies. And Izumi is just filled with this desire to kill now. She just looks at Izuku and says, Why? Why did you kill her?" And Izuku just says, "She was about to attack you. Did you not see?" And Izumi just punches Izuku right in the face and says, "I'll kill you, you bastard!" And just sends Izuku flying out of the Garden of Eden. And you can just see Izumi sprouts dark wings. And her eyes begin glowing red. There were slits like cat eyes, and her hair grew a little bit more. And you can just feel the bloodlust coming out of her. Izuku, he's just rubbing his cheek and says, "Ah, damn, that hurt." And you just see her coming straight at Izuku. Izuku, he managed to dodge and just says, "What the hell? Get a hold of yourself." And Izume, she forms her fist into a claw and says, "I'm gonna kill you for hurting my friend, for taking her life in front of me." And Izuku's just saying, "No, Izume, don't do this. You're acting foolish." And Izumi just says, "Foolish? For what? For you killing my best friend? The one that I've known for so long? I trust her more than you." And Izuku, his heart dropped and says, You what? You trust a demon more than your own brother?" And Izumi says, "You will suffer the same fate as she did." And she just forms her hand into a sword-like appearance. Her fist becomes sharp enough to pierce a whole rock, a whole boulder. And she wouldn't even be fazed by how much it hurt. And Izumi, she just rushes at Izuku. Izuku, he doesn't really want to hurt her sister, so he just grabs Izumi's hand and just pulls it down using a special self-defense technique that he learned from Michael. But she managed to counter this learning from Uriel and just full on fucking attacking each other. Izuku, he's at par to par with her. Their powers are at the same level. And the clouds in heaven turn gray and black. Thunder arose from it. And you can just hear this voice saying, "Enough!" And this whole lightning strikes right between them. And Izumi just looks and sees that it's her father. And Izuku, he just bows down and says, "Father, I'm sorry. I ask for your forgiveness." And God just says, "No need. For you are forgiven, my child. But you." And he just points at Izumi. "Why would you attack your brother? Explain. Now." And Izumi just says, "He killed my best friend." And God, he lifts an eyebrow and just looks at Izuku and says, "Is this true?" And Izuku just says, "Yeah, her friend was a demon. I don't even know how they let her in." And God, he's just surprised and says, "How did a demon get into heaven?" And he calls upon Michael, who's supposed to guard heaven and slay those demons who try to come in. Michael, he comes down and just says, "What's the matter?" And God just says, "What is the matter is that you're not doing your job, Michael." And Michael, he just bows down and says, "Please tell me what I did wrong, and I'll try to fix it." And God just says, "There's no fixing it. You let a demon in heaven." And Michael, his blood runs cold and says, I could have sworn no one came in." And you just hear this giggle in the background and it's Lucifer. And he says, "Oh, dearie me, How could you, brother, let a lonesome demon walk right in heaven? I'm appalled and mostly disappointed. I mean, who knew Michael the Great let a lonesome level demon in heaven? And Izume says, "Shut your mouth, Lucifer. I don't want to hear you. Right now, it's between me and my brother." And God says, "No, it's between you and hell." And Izume says, "What? You can't be serious, right?" And God just says, "Do you know what demons did? Do you know what they do? Do you, Izume?" And she just says, Dad, you can't." And God just says, "For your punishment for talking to a demon, for letting one in without even telling anybody, for keeping this a secret against your own brother, against me, your father, and for every single angel that's here. Your punishment would be severe. You'll spend the rest of your days in hell, not knowing the bright light of day." And Izumi, she just falls to her knees saying, "No, you can't do this. Father, you can't." And God just says, "You're right. I can't. Your mother would not be proud of me if I did this." You will not spend eternity in hell, but you will pay with your sins. You will spend for the last days on earth, walking amongst men and learning how they live. You will keep your power, but only until I say it's done. Until you are my daughter once more. I hope I never do this again." And God, he calls upon the rest of the angels. Michael, he's already bowing down. Gabriel, he comes in, bows down. Uriel, Raphael, Seraphim, Ragiel, and Lucifer, they all bow down and says, "What do you wish, my Lord?" And God just says, "My wish is for that every angel never to help my daughter. She will live in the earth, and she will stay there, knowing what she did, and pray that she ever sees the light once more." And Izumi just says, and she can't even say anything, and says this, "Dad, I hate you. I resent you." And everyone, even Izuku, is surprised that his sister would ever say that. And Izume, she just turns her back on her own dad, and just sprouts her wings and falls down from heaven. Izuku, he's just crying and thinking to himself, why would sister ever let a demon in? And without even saying anything to me. And God, he turns around and walks straight to Izuku. And he takes Izuku's crown. And God, he grabs his own crown and puts it on Izuku. And Izuku, he just looks up and sees his dad. And God says, now that your sister won't be able to do the challenges I have set for her, you are now the future king of heaven and the future ruler of earth. Do not disappoint me, my son. And Izuku, he bows and just bows his head and says, yes, father, I won't disappoint you. Now, end of flashback, Izuku, he just sees his sister. And if you're wondering how she looks like this. And he's just surprised that she's there. It's been so long since they last talked to each other. But he didn't care about that right now. He just saw a kid die right in front of him. And Izume, she slowly walks to Izuku. And Izuku, he just staring up at Izume. And Izume, she just smiles and just stabs Izuku right in the heart and says, until we meet again, brother. And Izuku, he wakes up and just confused and just deranged at the same time. He cuts through reality and just brings out the Fury Sword and just swinging it around. And he's just yelling and saying, Izume, until he just gets slapped by Enoch and says, what's the deal, kid? Damn, you almost sliced me. And Izuku says, where am I? We're still here. Is that a dream? Was that real? And Izuku just looks at Enoch. And Enoch just looks back at Izuku and says, I brought lunch. And Izuku looks down and sees that it's just a cup of noodles. And Izuku says, what's this? How do you eat this? And he just rips the bag and it's just hard. Like a hard, how to get like a package, ramen? Yes. Izuku, he bites down on it and it's crunchy. And Izuku says, you could have just gotten something else better. And Enoch just says, are you stupid? Have you ever eaten this? And Izuku says, no, I don't even think I eat much in freaking heaven. I only eat it for the taste, but I really don't gain anything from it. And Enoch, he's just rubbing his forehead saying, damn, man. I guess I have to teach this kid how to fucking eat properly. And Enoch just says, do you even know how to cook? And Izuku just says, what's cooking? Enoch, he's appalled by this. He's just surprised. He's shocked that the Son of God wouldn't even know how to cook, let alone how to eat properly. And Izuku, he's just scratching his head and saying, alright, so could we get something better than this? And Enoch, he just hits Izuku in the head and saying, you're supposed to fucking put hot water in it before eating it. And Izuku, he just says, oh, okay, where's the hot water? And he brings out a plastic bottle. Izuku, he puts down the sword and just grabs the bottle and says, oh, so, how do you, and just pours the water on the ramen and he takes a bite on it and says, ugh, it's more disgusting now. And Enoch, he just punches Izuku in the back of the head, saying, you're supposed to boil it first, dumbass. And Izuku, he just claps back, saying, well, I'm sorry that I've never been taught how to cook. Enoch. And Enoch, he just says, just call me fucking brother. I really don't like it when you call me by my name. And Izuku says, alright, fine. Alright, then you cook it. And just gives it to Enoch. And Enoch, he just looks at Izuku and saying, I'm not gonna, cook something that's already been eaten twice. And Izuku says, well, did you bring anything else? And Enoch just says, well, that was the only thing I think I could afford. I really don't know how the currency works here. And Izuku says, yeah, me neither. I guess we're both in the same boat. Well, I brought some Snickers. Or whatever this thing is called. Snickers? Sneakies? Whatever it's called. But it's really good. And just gives one to Enoch. Enoch, he eats the plastic and chocolate, everything. He thinks, very better. And Izuku, he just says, you're supposed to take the plastic off first, dumbass. And they're just, just flaming each other. And Enoch says, well, I heard something about a school nearby. And Izuku says, What do you mean by a school? And Enoch says, well, a school where you learn. And Izuku says, I don't really want to go to school. I mean, is there anything I can learn? And Enoch just says, well, you learn a lot up there in heaven, so I really don't know if you want to go to school there or not. But hey, you need friends. You need allies. If you want to create your world order, you need people that you can rely on. I won't be there to always hold your hand, Izuku. You must know this. For maybe even I might die. And Izuku just wonders himself, how could the most powerful angel in fucking heaven die to some people with just a few minor little bit of power? And Enoch just says, well, you don't know how these people are. Maybe they even have more power than an angel could ever have. Hell, even my power is limited in this fucking body. Even if I shapeshift into a different kind of body, I will still have that same limit. If you understand what I'm saying, I can't go full power. Not yet. And Izuku says, alright. Well, I guess I can learn. I mean, we don't even know how currency works, so I guess I need to go to school. And Enoch says, maybe I might join as well. I may look old, but maybe they're applying for a teacher or something. I could teach other kids how to fight. And Izuku says, yeah, I guess you can do that. So, what's this so-called school called? And Enoch says, well, it's called, My Hero Academia. I think that's what's called. And something about hero course and support course and many types of courts. I'm not really sure. And Izuku says, alright then. So when is it? And Enoch just says, in about 9 months. That's when they're having the so-called entrance exam or something. I'm not really sure. And Izuku says, well, where did you hear this? And Enoch just says, with a slight, grin, saying, the cashier. Izuku, he just says, are you even sure the cashier knows about it? And Enoch, with a dumb look says, I'm pretty sure I know. Trust your brother. And Izuku, he pulls up the ramen, who is still stiff as a fucking cardboard, and says, how could I trust you when you can't even get decent food? And just throws it at Enoch. And Enoch says, eat your goddamn food. I don't even know how to cook it, let alone eat it. So eat it. And just shoves the whole dry ass ramen right in Izuku's mouth and says, Izuku's just eating this dry ass ramen. And Izuku says, well, since I am limited in my power here as well, I guess I need to train. Will you help me train, Enoch? And Enoch, with a grin on his face, says, yeah, of course, kid. What kind of brother would I be if I let you die all by yourself? And Izuku says, huh? You let me die? And Enoch says, maybe, if you keep on annoying me. Now, let's start training for, the last 9 months. So Izuku, he trains for the whole 9 months, doing push-ups, sit-ups, sparring with Enoch, and just learning more on this whole new way. And then Enoch says, well, while they were training, Enoch says, well, we only have at least a couple days before the whole thing starts. I guess I could start applying for being a teacher. And Izuku, he's practicing with a sword and says, well, yeah, if you're going to practice with it, I guess you can start doing it right now. And Enoch says, what, teach? And Izuku says, yeah, you're a really good teacher. I'm not going to boast about it, but I learned new things about you, Enoch. I learned a lot. And Izuku, he pulls out from reality itself and pulls it out. And it's a book. And it's the book about good and evil. And Izuku, he throws it right at Enoch and says, this should help you at least a little bit of being a teacher. I got it from Regio. And Enoch, he's flipping through the pages and just reading it. And says, oh, this actually might be useful. Who knew little brother can actually write? And Izuku, he just looks at Enoch and says, what do you mean? And Enoch, he just explains how bad Regio's handwriting is and how terrible he is to pronounce stuff. And how he's mostly a person who resolves conflict, but with only violence, not with words. So this is actually surprising for Enoch. And Izuku, he just thinks, okay. Well, let's continue on training. And Enoch says, well, you go on train. I'm going to read a little bit more about this. This is kind of interesting. And you go train by yourself. I'm going to go rest up. And Izuku says, alright then. Now, a couple months pass, and now it's time for the entrance exam. So, Izuku, he's just wondering where should he go. He's never been told where this place is. It was just told that it's just a school. And Enoch, he just says, do I really need to carry you? I don't even know where the place is. I was just told there was just a school that there's just this whole hero school. And Izuku says, well, do you want me to get lost in this big city? And Enoch says, whatever rolls your boat, man. I'd rather let you be loose in the city than me holding your hand the entire time. And Izuku says, alright then, let me just walk around the city. Maybe I could just kill a person one more time. And Enoch says, no. You're the son of God. You're the symbol of hope and all that bullshit, whatever Dad says. So, yeah. Instead of me being a bad brother like Lucifer, I'm going to teach you how to become a better man. And Izuku, he, his eyebrow is up and says, be a man? You're a virgin. And Enoch's spirit is broken. His heart is broken. And just falls to the ground and says, I am not a virgin. And he's just full on blush on his face and everything. And Izuku, he just points out and says, Lucifer wouldn't be acting like this. He would be acting more like a man. And Enoch says, don't you dare just combine me to fucking Lucifer. Lucifer is a psychotic dumbass and lust of a fucking angel. I am not like him. I am a pure-hearted person who cares none about lust, but mostly the name of God. And Izuku says, so how did that go with the ladies? I know at least you tried to row a boat with someone else. I bet you couldn't. And Enoch, he's getting pissed and says, just get on my back. I guess we could start finding this place, whatever it is. And Enoch, he transforms into a dragon, and Izuku just gets on his back. Sorry. And just flies around the whole city until they find a school where a bunch of students are walking in. And Izuku, he points down and says, isn't that the school that we're supposed to go? My Hero whatever. And Enoch, he just says, yeah, I think that is. Whatever it is, supposed to be. But I'm not really sure either. And Izuku says, I don't really care at this point, let's go. And just grabs Enoch's horns and just pulls him down. And by this time, Izuku, he's more muscular. He's taller. He's more manlier now. And he's almost 19 years old. And Izuku, with his immense strength, just pulls Enoch straight to the ground, and they crash right in front of everybody. Everyone, they're just looking at Izuku getting out of this dragon. Enoch, he transforms into a human, and he's just at the ground, aching in pain. Izuku, he just slowly gets off of Enoch and says, wow, I didn't know you were that weak. And Enoch just says, you bastard. I'm gonna get you back for this. And Izuku says, yeah, whatever. Let's go. I'm kind of, excited. And Enoch says, don't be. This is probably gonna be a stupid trial, whatever it is. And everyone just, whispering to themselves, saying, Who are they? They have pretty powerful quirks. Oh dear. You think I'll ever make it? No, we don't have a chance. Oh, he's kind of cute though. And just whispering to themselves. Enoch and Izuku walk in. Everyone's just staring at Izuku and Enoch. And Enoch says, well, I'm going to talk to a couple of ladies over there. And just points at Midnight and Mount Lady. And Izuku just says, please, don't talk to me in front of everybody, making me look sinful. And Enoch just says, whatever. See ya, little bro. Hopefully you actually pass. And Izuku says, what do you mean by that? And Enoch says, I don't really care. Just do your best, alright, brother? And, he's just talking to Izuku about how tough this so-called exam is going to be. And Izuku, he just thinks to himself, man, Enoch really changed over the years. But then, not even a second later, he turns around and says, I'm going to talk to a couple of ladies. What rows my boat? And Izuku just says, now I just lost all respect for you. And yeah, Enoch, he walks to Midnight and Mount Lady and just talks to them. Izuku, he just sits down on a chair and he's right next to this kid with a blonde hair. And if you don't know who that is, it's Bakugo. of course. And Bakugo, he just looks at Izuku and says, "Huh, so you think you're better than me? Extra?" And Izuku, he just looks at him and says, "I didn't even say anything to you, dude." And Bakugo, he just says, "Huh? Did you say something to me, nerd?" And Izuku he just says, "Can you just be quiet, please?" And just looks forward. He doesn't really, care about it. So Bakugo is just keep on yelling at Izuku. But then President Mike comes in and says, "Alright, students, who's ready to take the entrance exam? Huh? And no one says nothing. And President Mike says, "Oh, boo. Okay then, please head to your stations." And Izuku, he hasn't registered for this. So he's just wondering what type of station he is. So he's just randomly walking into this room. He sits down and he takes this random test. And it's mostly like a writing test. So Izuku, he doesn't know much about Earth's history. So he mostly guesses and everything. And he doesn't really care. And so, while guessing, he's the first ever person to finish. Because 1, he doesn't really care, and 2, he doesn't know that much about Earth. So, he slowly walks back to his seat and sits down. And he just closes his eyes and dreams once more. But then that dream turns into a mindscape. And he just sees his sister again. But this time, his sister is holding his necklace. Izuku, he just stares at Izume. And Izuku is wondering what's going on. Izume, she walks up to this figure and puts the necklace around it. This figure is like a bird. Like a bird-shaped person. And Izuku could just feel the energy coming out of it. And then he's waking up. Now, he slept at least part of the whole President Mike presentation. And now he's getting on to the 0-pointer that Ida rudely interrupted. And Izuku, he just looks around and then doesn't know what to do. And he's drooling a little bit. And Ida, he just looks at Izuku and sees that he's just, wondering where he is. And Ida just yells and says, "Hey, who are you?" And everyone just look at Ida and says, they were just wondering, what is this kid's problem? Who is he? And Izuku just looks at him and says, "I'm your god, now shut the fuck up." And Ida, he's taken back by this and says, "Oh, how rude you are." And Izuku just lifts up his finger and does the middle finger at him. It says, "Just shut up. I have a fucking headache now. Great." And freaking President Mike says, Alright, calm down. We're gonna take now the test. Everyone line up." And Izuku's wondering, did I really skip to the whole thing? No way. And he's just walking in front of everybody. And some of them, they get in front of Izuku, but Izuku just pushes them back. Pushes them aside. And doesn't really care who's in front of him. So he gets in front and sees this girl right next to him, just nervous as hell. So Izuku, he just goes and looks at her and says, "So, what's this whole test about?" And if you don't know who this girl is, it's Uraka. And Uraka just says, "Did you not listen to the presentation?" And Izuku says, "I really didn't much pay attention. Could you tell me what this test is about?" And Uraka goes on to explain there's 1-pointers, 2-pointers, 3-pointers, and how the 0-pointer is the one that we're not supposed to attack. We're supposed to get away or run away. And doesn't really earn enough points. And the one with the most points gets to go into the school. And Izuku's just getting this whole briefing. And Izuku, in his mind, is saying, oh, it's just like a game. Huh. Cool. And President Mike says, alright, we're about to open the gates. Ready, everybody? And everyone, they're at this stance and just ready to run. But Izuku, he's just standing there, just hands in his pockets, and just looking forward. President Mike, he is counting down, and slowly the gates open, and President Mike says, 3, 2, 1, go, 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 go! And yeah, this is where I'm going to end up, guys. I'm sorry if it's not much like you guys wanted to see. And yeah, for my 800 special, if I ever get there, please comment down below what should it be. And yeah, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you all later. Bye!